Strong Dads wants to thank Quality Auto Mart for joining us as a sponsor. Quality Auto Mart was born in 1985. They are owned and operated by Mark and Nancy Repke. Quality Auto Mart provides all the services, repairs, and maintenance for your vehicle's needs with a 3-year auto parts and labor warranty. They offer complimentary vehicle safety inspection and estimates. Also, they offer a shuttle service, and the 4th oil change is always on them. They are located at 7307 on State Road 46 in Batesville, Indiana. Make sure you give them a call at 812-934-2301. Hey guys, what's going on? I brought Merle back in. We're doing a show together. You know, the last show we did, I tried to carry the load. I don't know if I failed or succeeded, but
by all accounts, it looks like you succeeded.
All right, sounds good. Well, glad to have you back.
You did a good job.
Glad to be doing a show back with you. So
yeah.
Anyways, how you doing?
Well, I'm glad to be back to the show.
I like it. We're back in studio, obviously you guys can tell, so it's not in my shop.
I like your shop.
It was a little echoey, I think. I picked up.
Yeah, that's the hard part, whereas this place puts a little bit more damper on the echo. So, but hey, you did a good job, and really that was a great message just about the idea of really kind of the takeaway is owning it, right? The idea of, listen, you can point your finger at everybody else in the world, especially when things aren't going well, but if you don't point him back at you, you're going to get nowhere in the resolution.
It's a tough realization to come to.
Well, it is. It's so much easier to complain about what other people are or are not doing.
Yep.
And I think that runs across the gamut, whether you're in business, politics, education. It's so much easier to armchair quarterback and talk about what somebody ought to do. Yep. But the reality of it is what are you going to do? So you did a good job.
How was your trip to Florida?
It was good. It was 80 degrees every day and sunny. I was only there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Okay. And then Wednesday we drove back, Wednesday and Thursday. So it was only just a couple of days. Had to replace the soffit in the house. The soffit was all blown out, so we had to replace that.
Doesn't make being outside work as bad when it's 80 degrees.
It was not bad at all. Like I totally love that stuff. So it was good, and so I'm looking for the next project day.
Good deal. Yeah, man. I hope you guys are out there having a good week. I hope you're excited to tune in for another show. We got kind of a little bit of maybe a shot to the face type of show here we're going to do for you guys. So
I think this is a shot to the face. I think this goes a little bit in line with how when we have problems in our life that we tend to either look at somebody else that they need to do. But this is more relationship bound, this conversation. Yeah. And when I talk about relationship bound, relationship with people that you have as friends, husband, wife, work relationships, like if you struggle in any particular relationship, this word that we're going to talk about today is at the heart of it. And you know, you just have to bear with us a little bit because sometimes you're going to have to look in the mirror to see what you're doing, what your part is in this. Yeah. But what we're going to actually deal with today is the word trust. Now, don't turn us off like, oh, this is boring. No, like we're going to break this down so that you really understand what is at this core of trust, as it is the underpinning of all relationships. Yeah, all right. For sure. Every relationship you have, whether it's going to be a strong relationship or a weak relationship, will be based off of the quality of trust. Yeah. And so we're going to also talk about the idea of, well, trust is not a blanket word. Like you either trust somebody 100% or you don't. That's not really how trust works. Right. We work in marriages all the time. And trust is much more on like a spectrum where there are different areas and segments where, I'll give you a high trust level in that one, but not so much in this one. And if you're not really aware of that, then sometimes you'll be stepping on landmines and you won't even have a clue that you're doing it. So
I like it. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a good show. Merle, I got a question for you though about this as we jump into this topic. Are you a trustworthy person? Would Linda say, man, Merle is trustworthy? Would your kids say you're trustworthy? Would your friends? What do you got?
so this kind of gets into what we're talking about. My knee-jerk reaction is,
Yep.
well, yeah, I'm trustworthy. What do you mean? Why would you even question me?
Yeah.
Right? But if I drill down just a little bit at all, I know that there are areas that I'm not trustworthy. So like if I look at my marriage, I would say that, Linda trusts me with that I'm going to be here. She trusts that I'm going to help provide and take care of those things. I don't think she trusts that I will always carry her heart well, meaning when she needs help that I will recognize it right off the bat and jump right in. Like I have to be told on and on, and she's gotten upset. Like, don't you see that I need help? And so she doesn't trust that I will just like do well and automatically carry the load with her. And so we've had to learn to work around that. I mean, a lot of years, for many years, she thought like, you obviously don't love me because you don't jump in to help me when I need help. And I would be like, I don't even know you need help, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe even if I do know that she needs help, maybe I just sort of look the other way.
Yeah.
And I think that's where there's been a break in trust.
Yeah.
And that's on me. And again, you just asked me if I'm trustworthy. So this goes on all sides of the relationship. So as far as my kids go, I think they trust that they're going to have a house, that we're going to take care of them, those kinds of things. I don't think they trust that I will understand where they're coming from or even take the time sometimes to understand.
Wow.
Like, well, he's just going to jump to conclusions anyway. And there's probably some truth to that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can't give myself a big A+ in that. I'd probably give you, I'll hover around the B. How about you? Are you trustworthy?
Man, I thought we were just going to keep going with you. I like this.
No,
good,
You goat.
No, that's funny. Some of the stuff you were talking about kind of just popped in my head. I would say, for sure, like when I'm at work, I've even heard a couple of the guys that I work with say similar things about me in regards to the trustworthy. This idea, like we'll just be talking, and we share a lot about our lives. I spend a third of my life with these guys. They'll say things that, in my mind, I know is probably not something they want public knowledge, and they don't actually say, "Hey, man, like just don't really share that with anybody."
Right.
But I know that it's actually a fairly kind of a quote unquote secret, right? They don't really want it out there, and sometimes I have to catch myself because I'll be like in mid conversation with somebody else, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, such and such said this," and I'm like, "Crap." Right. And a couple of guys have called me out before, like, man, sometimes I don't feel like I can tell you anything because you just go tell us to other people. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think in that regard, man, sometimes that idea of trust, being trustworthy, I think I fail at that one for sure. I think when it comes to Jenny and my marriage and, one of the things that kind of pops in my head is I definitely think Jenny trusts me in the sense of, going to work every day and providing for our family and being present, with the girls, being present in the house. I will say, I think sometimes, things like, I don't think Jenny really trusts me to keep our house clean.
No.
I can't tell you, she'll wake up and in our closet, I'll have, my pair of jeans from the night before just sitting there. And I know she's like, golly, I can't count on him to even pick up his daggone clothes, right? Yeah. And then, she'll call me out because I'll be like, girls, why do you leave the dishes in the sink? Why don't you put them in the dishwasher? And she's like, really, Kyle, you're going to say that, right?
Yeah.
And so I have definitely failed in the idea of being trustworthy when it comes to just being tidy and kind of neat and clean in the house. And, part of me is like, well, that's Jenny's thing, right? So
you minimize the importance of it.
I minimize the importance of it. And, and it's similar to what you were saying. It's just like, when you're talking about you and Linda, the idea of just asking, right? Sometimes I fail to just be like, hey, babe, what do you need from me?
Right.
And so, when it comes to my girls, sometimes I think, I would venture to say they probably don't have a whole lot of trust in me. Like they'll be upstairs reading their books and I'll just be downstairs on my phone, right? So just the idea of actually being like present in the moment, I think I fail as far as trustworthy in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah, so it gets to a good point. So then we have to decide whether those are significant areas or things that are causing significant damage in the relationship. And many times they're not.
Yeah.
They may be superficial trust issues. But I will tell you that many times they end up being significant. Okay, if they're not right now, they end up being. Let's thank our sponsors, and then let's get into the meat of this so that we can really hopefully help our guys, our strong dads out there with relationships and just how they're doing life. I want to thank Quality Auto Mart for being part of the Strong Dads sponsor group. And so we want to thank those guys for coming alongside of us. So for all your automotive needs, whether it's working on the car, getting something replaced, even just going out for a checkup on the car, they will take a look at your car, and they'll even do a full car inspection for free if you want them to do that. So go out and check out the people at Quality Auto Mart, located on Route 46 outside of Batesville, Indiana.
Good deal. Yeah, we also would like to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for coming alongside of us. Been a sponsor for a little bit now. We've had them on for a while, and so really do appreciate them allowing us to keep putting shows like this out there. Casey's Outdoor Solutions got awesome decor, home decor, landscaping needs. Check them out. We really do appreciate them. Let them know we sent you up there.
All right, so let's go into the word trust and understand how it pertains and what it pertains to here, and really wrestle with how we're doing with it, okay? First off, if you just look up the definition of trust, all right, it is the firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something, okay? So you could trust whether your car is going to get you from point A to B, or you could trust that the electric's going to stay on tonight when you're sleeping and it gets cold, or you could trust an actual ability of a person being in a relationship, okay?
Yeah. I love the idea, the reliability. That's kind of something that's maybe in my mind, I almost think of like being trustworthy and reliable as almost separate. But man, I think they're so intertwined when you really kind of at the core of both of those words and what they actually stand for. I think there's so much intertwined there.
Yeah. So it comes down within trust. There are some key words that we better wrap our head around and really understand what they mean, not just to us, but to the other people that we're trying to do relationship with. And I think that's really important when we're talking about this. Like, you can have your truth in your mind as to what you think is truth, but you better figure out what it is to your partner or the person you're in relationship with, because if they don't match, you're setting yourself up for a break in trust. Okay. And so those words are truth, honesty, integrity, and reliability, okay? Reliability, the ability to be counted on, okay? And so these are things that have to be figured out and understood and not minimized in the relationship, okay?
It's kind of crazy to think about those words that, the being, that the honesty, integrity, reliability. Man, I think, as a couple, as a married couple, I think those words cannot be relative to you. It has to be. It has to almost be a solid fact in your marriage. These are what we put. This is the honesty in this marriage looks like this, and there is no. It's not relative for Jenny. It's not relative for me. It should be the same for both of us. We kind of be on the same page when it comes, because this is such a big topic.
Yeah, and that's why it's important that if you didn't do this before you were married, it is worth the time to do it now, because you're probably seeing you have problems with it. It is worth the time for you to say, let's establish our definition for us and how on what truth might look like. And some things might seem really simple. We talked before we hit the record button about, well, who cares? I mean, if somebody's 5 minutes late, all right. Well, listen, if I know people that are 5 minutes late and it's not a big deal. I know other people that are 5 minutes late and it's a big freaking deal, right? And so the idea here is within a relationship, you better get that figured out. I think there's another point here, Kyle, that we also have to understand when you're doing relationship and you're trying to understand trust. Relationship is always about giving something and taking something from somebody.
Sure.
Okay. So it is always an exchange in a relationship. There's an exchange of something. Okay. I could buy a car from somebody, so there'd be an exchange of me buying the car, them getting the money. So there's an exchange of money. There could be an exchange of favors, an exchange of time, an exchange of ideas. Well, you tell me this and I'll tell you that. An exchange of love or service. So there's an exchange going back and forth. And the important part with this is if you're going to give something to somebody, then you are hoping that they're going to care for it or value it like you did, okay?
Yeah.
So if you give your child to the babysitter prior to you going out to dinner with your wife, you are trusting them because you're giving them your kid. I mean, it's a pretty big deal,
That's
right?
a big deal, yeah.
It's a pretty big deal. So the idea here is relationship and trust is all about, well, what are you willing to give? And then how well do you expect that other person is going to handle what you're giving?
Yeah.
You talked about the guys at work might give you some grief about you blabbing your mouth all over.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you my word.
Yeah.
Well, if I gave you my word and you rattled it out through the rest of the fire department,
Yep.
then you just broke our relationship.
Yep. 100%.
Okay?
Yeah.
So understand that trust is always based on the idea that you're getting ready to exchange something. You're going to exchange something. How well do you believe that person is going to care for it or think about it like you did?
Yeah.
And if they don't care for it like you did, then you're going to get busted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, which I think, as you're talking, I'm thinking that this idea, my last, the show that I did by myself referenced the book that I read. One of the books talks about sometimes it's not about the standard that you set. It really falls on what you're willing to tolerate.
Yeah.
And I think the same could be said about trust. I think, man, if you set a standard for yourself, I'm going to be trustworthy in these things, whatever. I think the person who you are trying to, gain that trust, I think there's definitely got to be some tolerance in the sense of, okay, these are my absolutes, right? I'm not going to allow this person to burn me XYZ number of times in the trust, category, because they continue to blab their mouth to people, or they, continue to, show up 5 minutes late when I tell them they need to be on time. So I think this idea of trust really it comes to what are you willing to tolerate, in yourself, and what are you willing to tolerate with other people? Because if your tolerance level is at a 0 and they break that trust one time, then, maybe in your mind, you're like, okay, this person's no longer trustworthy when it comes to this, because, I'm teaching my girls this right now, this idea of trust, and the idea of trust is really hard to gain and so quickly to lose. You can lose that trust in a moment, right? One time you mess up, you may have a record of 100 times being perfect in whatever category, whether it's on time, whether it's line, whatever the case may be, one time you fail that, you've lost trust.
Right.
Then some people would actually, say you're not a trustworthy person. And this is something, I'm teaching my youngest right now, Mia. She's gone through this long span of being trustworthy, and all of a sudden, it's just like now she's kind of gotten into this where she's lying about a lot of things. She's not telling the whole truth, and she's withholding certain things. And she gets so mad because now if there's a disagreement between her and Ava, I have a tendency to be like, okay, Ava, what really happened? Because if their stories
you go to Ava for the truth.
If their stories are polar opposite, and I'm like, Ava, what actually happened? And then Mia, I'm like, Mia, what happened? And their stories look different. I'm like, well, Mia, you understand why I believe Ava right now over you is because you've not really been telling the truth, and she gets mad at that.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like that is the exact thing that I'm getting at here, that it's just trust is one of those things that takes a long time to build up, but that first time you lie, the first time you're no longer trustworthy, man, you're losing so much credibility.
Man, that is so spot on in terms of I want to probably spend when you talk about breaking trust, okay, so let's just break it up in this way. There are those immediate things that blow it up, right? That just blow it up. You had the affair, right? You went and you just lost $100,000 at the gambling boat, like, okay,
right.
So, oh, wow, big deal, okay?
Yeah.
But in marriage, at least, actually what we find is that's not as typical as the other way, and you're describing more the other way.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that small little incremental thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's a little bit at a time, you know,
Yeah.
and it just erodes the whole trust fabric in the relationship. So I think what's important is on those big things, like you need to right up front be able to make the statement on what your boundary is. Like, listen, if I'm in a marriage with you, there will not be affairs. We will not be doing swinging relationships.
The
we will not.
absolutes.
Yeah, like these are easy. We're going to call them out right now.
Right.
And maybe how we're going to handle money, maybe what we think about drugs and alcohol, whatever it is. Like we're going to lay those out.
Yeah.
But it is the small ones that become the cancer. And these are the ones that come up 5, 10, 15, 20 years later where they just go, well, no, I'm not going to trust them with that because of the reputation now that starts to proceed. So let's figure out what we can do about this.
Yep.
All right?
Yeah, because you and Linda have done whole shows on Rock Solid Family with the idea of that slow fade, and I think the same can be.
Yeah, that's where the slow fade comes from.
Exactly. Just the small things. So, man, as we kind of move through the show, I think we have to look at Scripture. I think it's a great place to start. As we look at Luke 6:10, it kind of lays it out for us, and it says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little is also be dishonest with very much." And I think it's like it's so. I've actually talked about this before on the show. When my captain at work says, "Hey, man, will you guys go, clean up the restroom?" We do our daily chores that have to get done in the firehouse. It's like if he can't trust that we're actually going to do what needs to get done, what he has asked us to do, then when it comes to the big stuff in the middle of a house fire, it's like, hey, did you actually search that room? In the back of his mind, he's like, well, I can't even trust him to change the toilet paper.
Right.
How am I gonna confirm that he did actually search that room? So I think it's spot on, this idea of taking being really intentional and realizing that the small stuff does matter. In the grand scheme of things, yes, it's not an affair, but yes, you are. Instead of saying, I only spent $5 when actually you spent, 25, right? You are breaking the trust at the end of the day. Although those two in your mind may not seem, that they're not on equal playing fields. Again, it's that slow fade. How many things is your wife going to tolerate till it's like, hey, all right, we need to have a real conversation.
It's that slow erosion of the trust. They're not deal breakers in and of themselves, a one-time deal, but they are over time. And so, I've talked with my kids before when you talk about Luke 16:10, it's the idea of trusting you with a little allows me to trust you with much, okay? The idea of if somebody shoplifts a candy bar, okay, it's a candy bar. Mm-hmm. And that will be the hardest thing they ever steal. Because once they steal the candy bar and don't think it's a big deal, every stealing event after that is actually easier because in their mind they can minimize it.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, it was a candy bar. It's not a big deal. The same thing goes with little white lies that we talk about.
Yep.
Okay, and so the idea here is, excuse me, the idea is you can't minimize those if you really want to build a lasting relationship with people. So here's 10 keys for helping you understand what you're doing and how to do it better when it comes to trust. Very first one, I think this should be across the board. Talk less, do more. Yeah. Number one, it's talk less, do more. Stop running your mouth about everything that you say you're going to do, want to do. Sometimes I like to dream, but dreaming out loud can get me in trouble. If I share every single one of my dreams and, only a percentage of my dreams ever come true, eventually my wife's going, there he goes again.
Yep.
Okay, so talk less, just do more.
Yep, I like it. The second one, this is like very poignant to what I talked about last week in the show is man, own your stuff. Good, bad, and different. Man, you got to have a confession time. You have to have a time to look in the mirror and realize that your actions or your inactions have caused you to become, not trustworthy, and what that effect can do on other people, and just take ownership for, your stuff and making sure, you know, what are you willing to tolerate in your own self. And I think there's just some ownership. You have to take a look in the mirror, hard look in the mirror, and realize, man, I'm messing up in this category. And again, if it's a small thing and you're trying to justify that in your mind, stop. Like the small stuff does matter. The small details, the attention to detail does matter.
Yeah, that's for sure. Number 3, this is one that your wife busted you on. Okay. Don't hold others to a standard higher than you hold yourself. The idea that you can have dirty jeans hanging in your closet, but the kids can't have something, and your wife calls you out.
Yep, 100%.
And so the idea here is, before you call somebody else out for their shortcoming, you might want to look at where you are in that area.
Yeah.
Okay. Or even related areas. Okay. It might not be exactly the clothes thing, but it might be other things. Right. And so be very careful to set your standard in a way that you can fulfill it before you expect anybody else to fulfill it.
Yep. Man, this next one, this is really big for Jenny and I. This is something we have kind of made it a conscious effort to really, when it comes to our girls, this idea of not over-promising things. We may be taking it a little far, and we just like get in the car. We'll tell you where we're going to go when we show up, because man, I can't think of anything worse when it comes to, our kids and their trust that they have in us. If we say, hey, I'll take you fishing, right? Or we'll go to the ball game. And all of a sudden it's like 5 years past and we didn't do any of those.
Right.
Yeah. And man, I just think this idea of over promising things, man, I want to give my kids the world, right? I think we all want to have this ability to give them and experience things with them. But man, if all you ever do is say, we'll do it tomorrow, we'll go ride the bike tomorrow, I'll go toss baseball with you tomorrow, and then that tomorrow turns into a week and then a month, and you never do it, man, I think it'd be more beneficial to kind of take that step back and just be like, I'm going to, we're big in our house of say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the same could be said. Like, if you say you're going to do it, man, put it in your calendar, make it, put it on the refrigerator, start on the calendar. We're going to go play baseball. We're going to go toss baseball back on this day, and just actually doing what you say you're going to do. And then if you don't actually have full intention of doing it, then don't say it. I can't tell you the number of times people are like, yeah, man, we should hang out sometime. Right. And then they just walk away. And it's like, yeah, you're right. We should. Let's put it on the calendar.
Right.
Let's actually make it happen. So just the idea of not overpromising, not just saying willy-nilly, we're going to do something and then not doing it.
Yeah. Which almost like I'm thinking about in parenting, but really in any relationship, I think if the rule of thumb is more under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
So if you really don't say anything to your kids about what we're doing Friday night and they have no expectation, the next thing you know, you're taking them to Chuck E. Cheese's, wherever your girls like to go. They're like, no way. Versus if you told them for a month that you're going to Chuck E. Cheese's and every Friday night you don't go. So really the under promise but over deliver pays a whole lot better in the world of trust.
Yep.
I think this is a word that gets it sounds like such a great word, but this is a hard word to live by, and that is integrity. Practicing integrity in all areas of your life.
What's the cliche with it? And it's like doing what you're like when no one's watching.
When no one's watching, doing the right thing when no one's watching.
I knew it was something like that.
Yeah, and I like I'm guilty of taking shortcuts.
Yep.
Of whatever. I'll give you a perfect example. We were at a swim meet the other day, and after the swim meet, it was late. My son hadn't eaten in a while, and we pulled through the McDonald's drive-through, and he ordered a bunch of stuff, and he didn't get a drink. And I said, well, when we go to the window, tell him you want a drink. And so we went to the window, and I thought they charged us for the drink.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because I thought he got a meal or something.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention. And so we go to the window, and I go, oh, I need a drink with that as well. And they just handed me a cup, and we filled it up with whatever. They filled it up with whatever you wanted. And they just handed it to me. And we got going down the interstate, and my son says, Dad, I don't think we bought that drink. And I said, no, it was part of the meal. It was part of the meal. And so he pulls out the receipt. We never bought a meal. We bought separate things. And do you think I turned around on the? No, I did. And I was like, like, and again, that sounds like a silly thing, but guess who was there to watch it? My son. And I failed it because I didn't turn around on the interstate. I rationalized it. I said, it's late. I'm tired. I want to get home.
No, that's golly. I just got hit in the face by 20 things I'm thinking of. Integrity. And I think that's a principle we want to teach our kids, right? That's an attribute that I'm like, I would love my kids to be, have the integrity, right? And it's like, man, they're watching me. If I can't even uphold the idea of being, having the integrity, how can I expect them to? Man, I think this next one, Merle, I think is so such a good point. Again, this idea of trying to essentially rebuild the trust in your relationships. And I think this idea of know what others need from you, and then answer the call and meet their needs, I think is so, man, I can't tell you how powerful, it would be to rebuild the trust if I know Jenny likes a neat and tidy house, right? What would that say? How would that help rebuild that trust if, instead of just putting my jeans down on the floor, I actually just put them away? Right. Not a hard task, but
you might give her a heart attack. Be careful.
But and it's one of those things like if and I know she wants that, right? But if whatever the example is, if I were to be like, hey, babe, what do you need from me? And she lays it out very clear to me, but then I don't follow through and I don't actually do what I say, what she wants from me. I think we're just breaking that trust. And again, maybe small things like jeans on the floor, but man, the small things mean something. They can kind of snowball into the big things. Yeah.
Well, I use this a lot. Because I think sometimes we can claim ignorance, like, well, I didn't know. And so when we have, when I'm working with a couple where there has been a break in trust, one of the things that I ask whoever, the victim was of that, I say, okay, so let's stop messing around. Tell them what you need. Straight up, like, I need this from you in order for me to start to trust you. And so rather than me having to put that in place, how about you just ask your wife? How about you say, all right, you know what? I want to do better with this. What do you need from me? And so, have them state what they need. And then at that point, if you are willing to have the guts to ask the question, what do you need from me? Now you got to follow through. Okay. But the cool thing about it is you were just given a clearly defined target. And us men like targets. As long as I know what to shoot for, I'm good all day. If I have no idea what to shoot for, I'll get bored quickly and just shoot at whatever I want to shoot at. And so the idea here is, lay it out there, know what you need to deliver on.
I think this next one, again, is just a great reminder for not just with building trust or trying to rebuild trust. I think it goes with a lot of things. We've done almost whole shows on this idea. We cannot, and we have to stop minimizing our mistakes and the times that we do break, the trust of someone else. We have to stop minimizing it and realizing, we were talking before this idea of showing up 5 minutes late, right? There are some people who legitimately that's a big deal that's a deal breaker for them. And and again, although it may not be a big deal to us, like, we can't minimize someone else's feelings and how they feel about it and the idea that they feel like the trust has been broken. So, man, just stepping up and owning the idea, like, okay, those mistakes happen. I can't minimize and say, okay, well, whatever. It's just jeans on the floor. It wasn't an affair, right? I mean, you can't just minimize it because it's a big deal to Jenny that my jeans are not on the floor.
The phrase for minimizing, and I'm as guilty as anyone, well, I think you're overthinking this one. I think you're making a big deal out of nothing. There we go, mountains out of molehills again, all these little phrases. And this is all a form of gaslighting. Like, basically, I'm not the one wrong. You're the one thinking wrongly about this. And so I'm going to try to basically put the burden onto you because you're messed up. I'm not.
I'm really good at that, Merle.
Well, and the term gaslighting is something that's really just come on more strongly in the last probably 5 years. But the idea that we minimize with somebody else, especially someone we're trying to be in a relationship with, hun, listen, it's not that big of a deal. I think you're overreacting. Well, again, like, you might get her to buy that one time, but if you frequently come at her with that sort of approach, eventually she's going to say, you know what, I don't trust this guy because everything I do is not a big deal to him as long as it gets him off the hook. All right. So we have to be really careful about minimizing how somebody else should feel about something.
Yep, for sure. I mean, part of the rebuilding the trust is you have to acknowledge and you have to apologize.
Apologize, yeah.
Like it or not, I mean, that is a part of the healing process. When we're talking about trying to rebuild that trust, this idea you have to apologize. Again, taking that ownership. Hey, it's on me. I'm so sorry that I broke your trust. And again, the flip side of that is also not minimizing how they feel. We can't expect these people, whoever it is, your wife, your kids, we can't expect them to cope and deal with the apology right now, right? There's definitely got to be a quote unquote healing process when it comes to this apology. So everyone's going to look a little different. Again, the smaller things, okay, yeah, sure, I forgive you, right? The bigger things where there's been trust broken, it may take it's a process to go through and actually okay, I get that you're apologizing. It's going to take me a little bit of time to work through this.
Yeah. And then so the next part of that, the next step, if we apologize, then we better repent. Mm-hmm. If every time we are 5 minutes late, and every time we say, man, I'm so sorry for running late, but they can count on me the next time to be 5 minutes late.
Right.
There's no repentance. Repentance means to turn away from whatever action you were doing, to stop it, to put in a different action. And so if you don't repent, if you continue to say, I'm sorry for how I'm spending money, but then you keep spending money that way. I'm sorry for going out and getting drunk, but you continue to go out and get drunk. Like, if there's not repentance, your apology is completely empty. So the repentance has to come into play. By the way, this is not just in a spiritual walk. Okay, this is how it works when you're trying to work relationship with people.
Yeah.
Apologies are empty if they're not backed up by action.
Golly, I can't imagine how God feels like every time.
Oh, I know.
Golly,
Yeah.
Kyle,
Yeah, I'm sorry for doing that again.
Golly.
I always have to follow it with again. Oh, that's where grace comes in.
And we need a lot of that.
Thank God.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and the last point. The last point is sometimes in the church world, you will hear of the word penance. And penance means that not only have you owned it, not only have you apologized for it, not only have you said, I won't do it again, I'm going to change my way, but now you will actually pay for it. And you'll pay for it in a way that allows the other person to know that you value them. Okay? In other words, you're going to try to add value back to that person, because every time you broke trust, you were actually valuing them. Okay? You were taking something away from them. And so penance is about the payback. So the idea here of, in the prison world, we talk about, well, you'll pay back with time. All right, we're going to take time, something that's very valuable. We're going to take it out of your life, and you're going to give it to us.
Yeah.
Okay, and you'll lose that freedom. Well, in the relationship world, it's like, you know what? I recognize what I've done for you. I want to do something to pay it back, and it might be extra acts of service. It might be money. It might be whatever, attention, affection, whatever it is. But the idea that you set it up in terms of paying back, and it shows the other person that you're trying to reinstate value into the relationship with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good, man. As we look at those 10 things, go back and re-listen to those if you kind of miss them, because I think there's some good stuff in there. Because again, this is all about, we can sit and say, well, I'm not very trustworthy in this, and oh well, it's not that big of a deal. But man, I think that this idea of trying to rebuild and go back and really try and make an effort to again, we're talking to strong dads out there. Like, we are constantly in this battle of trying to get better, and one of those things is we have to continue to try and rebuild those trust, and whatever that's going to look like for you and your marriage. I just think it's so important, because trustworthy and being trustworthy has got to be one of the foundational principles for a marriage that's going to continue to succeed.
Yeah. So the challenge is basically to observe what you're doing. Listen, if you have any fracture or even tension going on with any relationship, like we said at the very beginning of the show, whether it's work, whether it's marriage, whether it's with your kids, whether it's a friend of any sort, like if there's any break or tension in that, I will promise you it somewhere is based in a disruption in trust. All right. And the trust is that something that is being exchanged is not being carried well, whether it's time, word, money, whatever it is. And so take the time to take a look at it and do what we just talked about, the idea of own it, apologize for it, repent from it, and pay it back if you need to. All right. These are some simple things to help you get back on track in those relationships. All right, I think we got that one.
I think we got it. Yeah, good deal. Yeah, I hope, man, I hope it sparks some good, conversations with you and your wife. I hope it sparks some ideas that kind of run through your mind. That's kind of why we keep putting these shows out there, man, hoping you guys are getting value in them, hoping that you can go back and re-listen to them and kind of pick up on a few odds and stuff because, again, as we come on these mics, we're kind of speaking to ourselves here because I know I'm for sure running through different scenarios where I have failed miserably at these, right? But it's kind of just that work in progress, right? We got to continue to try and get better, continue to get better for our wife, for our kids, and ultimately, like the big thing here is trying to become a better man, a better strong dad. So I hope you guys keep getting stuff out of these shows. Thanks so much for Quality Auto Mart and Casey Outdoor Solutions for coming alongside of us. I really do appreciate them. So check those places out there and let them know we sent you there.
Yeah, do us a favor, guys. Continue to share our show. Continue to build us. One of the cool things that I get with men that come in, even women that come in for coaching, whether it's couples or individuals, I very frequently get somebody that comes in and says, "Hey, I've been listening to your show," or this is the show that I listened to, and this is what I got out of it. And, as much as anything, it's great that we get more listeners. It's even better when we know that there's a helpful function out of the work versus just a bunch of mouth, putting out words. So anyway, share these shows, especially if something hits home with you or someone that share the shows, give us 5-star ratings, get the opportunity out there for other people to listen. All right. So I think you can do your, go out there and be a strong dad kind of dude.
Let's
close it up.
Really appreciate you guys. Go out there and be some strong dads.
I trusted that you would do that really well.
I appreciate
That's why I gave you that. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home.